So in this video, I wanted to discuss the difference between community mobbing and gang stalking, because I think that what a lot of us are dealing with has more to do with community mobbing than actual gang stalking. So gang stalking is basically a part of a community mob program. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because a lot of you guys are assuming that all of your misery is coming from a select group of people, when it really is just the entire community that you live in that is making your life miserable. It's not like it's just these few assholes who are attacking you constantly and everyone else is just oblivious to what's going on. So when you talk about gang stalking, when you mention gang stalking, the first assumption that people have is that it's a gang, like a gang of people who are stalking you, because it's in the title, right? Gang stalking, like a gang. Well, if everyone is involved in it, it's not a gang. It's a community, and the community is mobbing you. I prefer the term community mobbing. I use gang stalking because that's the term that most people are familiar with. Everyone who is, a victim of this says gang stalking. And you want to know why everyone says gang stalking? Because the stalkers are the people who really get our attention. They're the ones that we pay attention to. Like, if the community is very subtle. Like, the community will be subtle. Like, the community will just subtly, passive aggressively be a dick to you. The stalkers are the people that we pay attention to. Now, the stalkers are the ones stalking us. They're the ones following us around, doing idiot stuff to get our attention. Those are the stalkers. The stalkers are the people that you pay attention to. Like, the ugly, piece of shit who's fucking following you around, the weirdo, the ugly fucking nut job in his fancy suit or something, that fucking freak, some freak. All these loser people who are just, following us around, is that those are the people we immediately think about when we think about the operation. The creepy freaks, the weaklings, the losers, all those people, the ones that you see, all the time, they're following you, looking all crazy. Those are the people that we're thinking about. Those are the people we talk about. But in reality, it's a community mobbing issue. Basically, every person in this community is at least subtly or somewhat involved in the operation. Like, there aren't innocent people. So it's not like everyone is just a normal person and no one knows who the hell you are except for these few crazies who are just harassing you. It's not like that. Like, every person that you live around knows who you are, and on some level they're working against you, maybe not directly. You probably have a gang stalker coming in and briefing them about you. Like, look at that idiot in the Porsche. Okay, he could be the idiot, like, who's just, they think he's somebody. Like, he'll just start barking orders to him like he's God or somebody. These idiots out here, though, he's their master. But you get one of these type of guys, he'll go up in there and just start telling them what's what, and then they just get in line. Like, I think it might be more like that, but that would make it community mobbing, not gang stalking. Like, the entire community is mobbing you, harassing you, not just a select group of people. So I wanted to be clear about that because it's relevant, because like a lot of people assume that it's just stalkers, like a select group of people. So you might be thinking, well, hell, if I expose it within the community, the problem will fix itself. Well, no, the problem isn't going to fix itself. Everyone in the community already knows. So they're not going to do anything because they're all involved. And another thing that I wanted to talk about is that could actually explain why no one is doing anything about it on the federal level, law enforcement. Like, law enforcement would probably just want to turn the other way in a situation like this, even if they weren't involved, because how do you enforce this kind of situation? They can't force every person that you live around to behave. Not if they all gang up, not if they all working together. You can't arrest the entire goddamn fucking county. So the point is that we assume that the government is involved, but in reality, the government may not be involved. The government might just have a hands-off approach because it's too big of a situation for them to handle. So it's just like, think about it, the rioting. Okay, now the government didn't particularly like the rioting or the fact that people were, you're burning down buildings and stealing from Target, looting from Target. The government didn't like that, but the government kind of had a hands-off approach because there were too many people involved for them to really enforce law. So what I'm saying is, the theory is that it's not so much that the government is involved in the operation. It's just that the entire fucking community is basically after you, and the government just can't enforce the legal system when every piece of shit that you live around is breaking the law. If every piece of shit that you live around is breaking the law, then how the fuck do they, they can't arrest everybody. They can't, like, what are they gonna do? Arrest the whole, like, 20, 30,000 fucking people? They can't do that. I mean, so maybe it just makes more sense for them to pretend it's not happening, because they don't know how to enforce the law when every asshole in the fucking community that you live in is involved. It's like a crime in which everybody is involved in the crime, therefore it's impossible to enforce the law because everybody's involved. Like, I don't know how you could enforce the law unless you just cherry pick certain people and made an example out of them or something. And we've seen this time and time again during the Capitol, when they stormed the Capitol. I mean, how many people got arrested? Maybe 20 or 30? And how many people went there and committed a crime? When they stormed the Capitol, I mean, so you would say, think of it like a predator at a water hole. I don't want to use this analogy to insult these people, but think about a predator at a watering hole, and the predator would be the government. But you would have a horde of water buffalo going to the water hole, maybe a 5,000 water buffalo. So if it was illegal to drink out of the water hole, let's assume that it was illegal. The legal system, the law, is the water, and it's illegal for the water buffalo to drink there. So the water buffalo badly want to drink from this water hole, so they come up with an idea. They say to themselves, if we all get together and go to the water hole, and you have a couple of crocodiles, the crocodiles will be federal law enforcement or whatever. They're the crocodiles. And, anybody who goes to the water hole to drink when they're not supposed to gets eaten. So they say to themselves, well, hell, there's about couple thousand of us. If we all go to the water hole at the same time, we could get a drink, because the crocodiles cannot eat all of us. They'll take a couple of us down, but 98 or 99% of us will be able to steal a drink. Okay, we'll be able to drink the forbidden water, and we can just go about our lives. So to use that analogy, what I'm saying here is that if the people all gang up against the government, or they all commit a crime together, it's not really that enforceable, because they're all doing it together, and we don't have enough cops or federal agents to arrest the whole damn community. Even if we could arrest the whole community, like, they're not going to do that. They're just not. So I'm not saying that the government isn't involved. I'm just saying that if the community stuck together and decided to commit crimes together as one unit, the government would be in a very difficult situation, just like it was during the rioting, where it can't arrest that many people for breaking laws. I mean, it's too many of these people. So what I'm thinking is that a criminal organization that basically ensnares every single person that you live around is pretty much untouchable, because you can't enforce the law if this many people break the law. So what we might have is a situation in which everybody just figured out that they don't have to obey the law if they all stick together, so they can bypass it because it's unenforceable because everybody's doing it. So it's kind of like you just using your numbers to sort of break the legal system to the point where it doesn't function the way it's supposed to, because the legal system is designed to go after a few rebels, a few little rebels here and there, a rebel here, a rebel there, but not this many, not an entire community's worth. So I'm not saying that the government's not involved. What I'm saying is that it could simply be the community itself and not the federal government. The federal government could simply have a hands-off approach. I mean, they're looking at this situation like this is just a shitstorm right now. Like, they don't know what to do. I mean, and we've seen this during the rioting. They didn't know how to handle that situation. So what did? They just let them do it. I mean, because what else were they going to do? Anything else would have caused too many problems. Like, their only solution, think about it, their only solution to dealing with this situation would be to declare martial law and send in troops. I mean, if they wanted to enforce law in this area, the president would have to declare martial law in the county that I live in and send in the army and have troops enforcing the law out here. Like, literally, there would be no second option. Obviously, the feds couldn't do it. So you really think that the government wants to do that because a bunch of assholes got together and started fucking mobbing you or something? Like, it's just not worth it to them for them to bother going through the trouble. But I mean, depending on the circumstances, I mean, like I said, I mean, it's a weird situation. It's a real complicated, weird situation to be in, really. The government could make examples out of enough of these people where it just would be a bad idea for them to do it. But I used to wonder what happens if these people decide to do a little uprising of their own. I mean, just like what happened in the Capitol. I mean, you know, these people could be thinking like that, because once they get a taste for power, if you allow them to have that taste, they're going to get hungry for it. Once you say that they can do this, then they're going to be thinking, what else could they get away with doing? Once you basically have a hands-off approach, then they might get bold. They might try to take over. Because so the government would be faced with that issue. Like, if you let them get away with this, what's to stop them from going further and further and further? You'll have a gang stalker who will overthrow our government. Like, once you start saying that you don't want to force laws. So that's the other end of the spectrum. By telling them that they can get away with this, you're telling them they can get away with anything, and that's a bad message to send. Okay, like right now they're saying, oh, we're untouchable because we stick together. Well, I mean, once that idea is planting in their head, they might try to take over the whole country. I mean, we saw this in Rome. Like in Rome, once a group of the enemies of the emperor took over Rome, once they marched on the capital, they took over the entire country. They took over the whole empire. So I don't know, like, depending on how well you know history, like the people who wanted to take over Rome got together and had an army march on the capital, marched on Rome, the city of Rome. And once they took the city of Rome, they took over the entire country. So it's kind of like that's the other end to that. Like, if you tell these people that they can get away with this, it's easy for them to feel like since they can get away with this, they can get away with going further. Because now you're enabling them and saying that, yeah, if you do this, we just have a hands-off approach. I thought about this during the rioting, because I was wondering, like, what would stop these people from just making that a regular occurrence where, you know, like if their guy got arrested or something, like their man, he goes to jail, and they're just like, well, we'll just, you know, wipe out, you know, every business in the city and burn everything to dust. Like, you're sort of saying, at that point, you're saying that you can't control the populace anymore. And they'll become bolder and bolder to the point where they try to take the United States over or something. Like, it's a very dangerous thing for the government to not have a hands-off approach. But I don't know. Technically, the government could send troops in here and get these people under control. But I think that it's just like, they're gonna have to have a nuanced approach when dealing with them. So these are just theories, and I don't know. I mean, it could be anything, but I figured I would just go over these theories. So until next video, peace, everyone.